Yes!
Oh! 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 Oh!
Oh!
Oh my God! Voglio fare un bel Quítate. ¡Eres loca! Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
That was just a little live action representation of what's going on at Dynamite right now. I mean, it's not quite Dynamite, but fireworks close enough, yeah?
Yeah. It'll be fine.
It feels weird, though, to not start with some music. I don't know. Hopefully we won't get struck down.
No, hopefully. Yeah. Wait, were there any bosoms in those dynamite or in those fireworks?
Potential maiming and injury.
Well,
Does that count? I
those
don't
aren't-
care about that.
Yeah, those aren't bosoms, but
No.
although I did know a woman once who, if she turned too fast to talk to you, you could face potential maiming and injury.
Because of their pointiness or their size?
They're pillow. Think pillow fight. Think children in a pillow fight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bosom physics.
Yes. So
Blue, we've got Poland here, and it's not like 10 people on the panel.
No, Poland's the guy we need when we have 10 people on the panel. So
Yeah, but we can talk to him now.
Am I the moderator of 10 people? Or am I the equivalent of 10 people?
you're the
Am I
moderator.
wide Poland?
You're the man with the avatar.
You're the man we need.
Yeah, I figured the war face tonight would be appropriate.
Absolutely.
We need.
Who have we got in the chat? I was worried. I started an hour later because I thought if EVS he was holding on to about 2,500 people.
Well, you
I
know how
didn't
he
know
does
if
the thing
anyone
where people say, "Oh, let's do this." He's like, "No, I don't want to. I don't think so." And an hour and a half later, he's like hip deep in whatever they suggested. The auction started. So, I think I was trying.
Yeah,
to
he did an auction earlier, and he lost about 200 people. So, I mean, I don't watch the auctions either. So,
Yeah. I rewound through it and I thought it looked like an auction, and the comments just kept going like numbers confirmed. But Felix Haas was in a stream earlier today with Micah and Liam, and Felix is a monster when it comes to posting them links. So thank you, Felix, for everything. I made a little joke with him like what's your interval, because it's really short, and he's like, "Oh, I'll slow down." And I was teasing you a little bit, Felix. That's all. But he slowed way down. So
go as fast or slow as you want here, Felix. This is your home.
yeah.
Don't you worry about it. You do what you want here.
If you're feeling unfulfilled, you by all means make up for it. So.
Mo Biggs is in the house. Hello, Mo. How you going, buddy? David Feed is here too.
Hey, David.
I said I wasn't going to start until Mo Biggs left a comment. I was talking about how late I am, but
Wait, are you late or are you as the
well,
ladies
I was,
say, late?
I mean, if I'm half a millisecond over the showtime, Mo will be there to keep me in check and deflate my head somewhat. He says that's like waiting for Dynamite to be infested by SJWs.
Yeah, this has been quite the turn of events. Anytime I go out of town, everything just explodes.
Yeah, we need you here to hold things together. But I think this was probably a long time coming.
See, okay,
Yeah, I think a lot of people were in a very much a wait and see about this whole arrangement ever since EVS really started investing in those projects. It went from just a one-off cover to entire books. And I think people were just patiently sitting back and say, okay, well, we'll give them benefit of the doubt. And now here we are.
That's what we're here to talk about. Todd's Truth is here. He says, "Hail everyone, hail right back at you, Todd." Boogiebot Comic says, "Dynamite went boom." Absolutely. Bandito's in the chat. Hopefully he'll be able to make it on his as always, he's working. He's a busy man. He's got his clients to take care of all their needs and desires. He says he's on his way home now. He'll pop in soon. Make sure you wash your hands before you come onto the stream, Bandito. We don't want any of that getting onto here. Dynamite just killed itself. It seems so. They tried to please both sides, end up enraging both sides. Yeah, it's the old Doug to Naples, Mike S. Miller play, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay. Of what you were saying there, Poland. I didn't. I'm not a kind of guy to make big statements about things, but for me, I was done with those guys the moment they announced that they were donating money to bail out rioters and looters and stuff. So I'm like, no, that's it. Like, if you've got a choice, you don't always have a choice. You notice sometimes it's like you need to get paid from your work, and so you have to have a bank account. Find a bank now that isn't, waist deep in this SJW shit. Now you can't. So you don't always have a choice, but there's a choice. There's a clear choice in comics. You don't have to support Dynamite books if they come out and say we're going to donate $4 million to bail out people who've been setting the country on fire, for example. Bowden says war campaign is always right. I don't know about always, but they were definitely right on this one, it seems. And what does Mo say? He says, I stayed out of it, but when I saw Nick Barucci, oh, he did that too. Yeah. Oh, right. Yes, I forgot about that. Right.
See, I never knew about this. If I knew about this, change of.
Yeah, see, some of them I give a little bit of leeway. Like if you know someone was telling me, you're not really involved, and like your mate comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm being sued." You don't really look too much into it. But yeah, it definitely it sets the alarm bells ringing, doesn't it? Boogiebot's the same too. That bailout fund, and this stuff is still happening. This is all still happening, and they're paying money to it, and it's hard because there's people involved who aren't involved in any of this. You work for a company, you say, oh, I'm going to do the coloring for some book. You're not signing your name on the line to say that you support everything that CEO agrees to. So you do kind of want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but also there's a line as a customer, especially. I've bought EVS's Vampirella variants before, but after I saw that bail thing, I was like, "There's no way I'm supporting the Cecil thing." And now,
this affects other people, which is my big thing about. Okay, so people who want to ditch Dynamite. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you what?
I was just saying hi to Antoine.
Oh, hi, Antoine. People want to bail on Dynamite, and I don't blame them. I hope people are aware that they're responsible for their own choices, because there's a lot of presumption that it's like dominoes, that because Dynamite did this, therefore I bail on all Dynamite, regardless of consequences to, say, Billy Tucci or Art Thibert or other people. It's kind of like, well, I can say I bail on Dynamite and I have my motivation because of things that have happened, but that's not the same as where you say, do we really want to bury Billy Tucci? And it's, yeah, well, no. Do you really want to bury Billy Tucci? And I'm not even backing Billy Tucci. I don't want his book in the first place. So
I did want his book. And then the Fury one. Yeah, because that art really spoke to me.
Yeah, that was some good stuff, I have to say. But I was hesitant to back it for this reason. this exact reason.
Exactly. I mean, I've got a long list of things to back. So it was way down, and I just don't think. And then that Baal project thing happened, and I was like, I mean, I want to, but I'm not going to. There's so much choice available to me. Why would I give it to a company who's also going to be, donating that much money to these people? And when I can back, I mean, I don't have enough money to back all the people that I want to back in CG, who aren't bailing out looters.
Yeah, let's just remember the donation thing was allegedly to be the profits on selling through Humble Bundle, not just any money they get from anywhere.
That's right. I think that's why it wasn't such a big deal. It wasn't, but at the same time, just like Antoine said down here, you try and play both sides of the fence. You can't play both sides of this fence. I sent in a super chat to EVS, which was, you try and walk both sides of this fence, you're going to get your balls ripped off.
Yeah.
Just like Miller did before, just like anyone else who's come out against SJWs and been embraced here, and then come out against us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how low you bend, how far down to the ground you get and grovel to the back to the SJWs, and how much virtue signaling. That taint is on you now. And
Michael,
they're not. Yep.
You stand in the middle of the road, you're going to get run over. And when the opportunity cost was no longer worth it for him, he bent the knee. And I think this is the feeling that a lot of us had was going to eventually be the case. As soon as it was no longer worth it to have a CG-backed Indiegogo and they were catching too much flack for it, they were going to cut it loose immediately. Because it was all just mercenary work, essentially, which as long as you're willing to stick to that and work with everyone, it's fine. But now you've made the choice.
Mm-hmm. I want people to remember they are making the choice. It's not automatic. My choice, by the way, is going to be, and it will have consequences. I am giving up Vampirella, which I was supporting because of Christopher Priest. Now, something that's good. Widespread enough that my one cancellation might not mean a lot. But wait a minute, a lot of people who are fans of Micah may have been also checking out Vampirella because of Micah's admiration of Christopher Priest. So, who knows where that'll go? But that's my choice. I'm choosing to ditch Dynamite on that end.
Yeah, and his Lord Cracker says he feels a little bad for Billy Tucci, though he's always gotten 2K in refunds. Yeah, what a position to find yourself in now. I mean, obviously, we don't know how all these things come about. Billy probably has known Nick for a long time. They've worked together a lot, haven't they? I don't know. I mean, we heard Ethan was telling him not, he really has to stay strong and not bend the knee. But some people, I guess, just see things differently. In my view, it's like you don't have as much of a spine. I think in a week or so, like these guys on Twitter, they don't have that much of an attention span. They didn't even care that Ethan was, had already had 3 covers with Dynamite, or that Anna did her cover. They didn't care about any of that. So
if you're speaking for the
it would have blown over, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, with the larger population on Twitter, yeah, but there are those few who are the sociopaths that go after your children before they go after you, and I think that's what this was. And those are the people who remember whom to go after and look for different angles and whatnot. But those are the few, not the broad people.
Anton says Barucci could have stayed out of the fray altogether, but he chose to participate. Yeah, I guess he thought there'd be easy money, and he was right for a while. But
like I said, it was
exactly
he was going to ride that train until it was no longer worth it.
Yeah, but and there's money to be made out there, like you were saying, Poland, in the middle of the road. But eventually, you're going to get hit by a truck.
Yep.
And Wendy here is saying, no one saw this coming. Lol. Exactly. I think, obviously, a lot of people did see it coming. A lot of people were more, what's the word, vehement about severing ties with Dynamite before.
Mhm.
I mean, I'd backed Vampirella books, EVS's covers before, but I hadn't planned on. I didn't get the third one. And I hadn't planned on getting any more, and I was happy about that I didn't get any more when I heard about this bail thing, and now this. It's just, you know.
I made a tweet earlier, saying facetiously, who would have known? And I was granting credit to the people that had predicted this early, and everyone interpreted it as me saying, like, genuinely, who would have known?
Oh,
It was
right.
kind of hilarious.
That's Twitter. That's Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I saw. God, someone made a tweet the other day. I wish I could remember what it was. It was so ridiculous. It was so insane that to imagine that the person was being literal. I mean, you couldn't imagine a scenario where he's being actually literal.
That's how I try to do mine. If I'm joking, I try to make it so. If it's an abstract absurdity, I try to make it so absurd. But yeah.
Yeah, because the people in the chat, it was 50% divided in the responses between people who were taking him literally and being rightfully outraged, and then everyone else saying, "Oh, this isn't a good joke" or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Nick should have declared himself Fiji or effed off. Now he's screwed. I mean, he is. I mean, who's gonna back their things now? I've got a bunch of Twitter. Kind of threads lined up that we can go through, and yeah, these people aren't going to come back. But then the thing is, they weren't really, they're sort of more creators. That, I mean, who was backing this stuff anyway? It was
he just
normal
wanted that
people.
CG money. He just wanted that extra channel of revenue. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't blame a businessman for doing that, but stick to your guns. If you want to do business for everyone and have those channels of revenue, just tell people when they ask you, it's like, look, I do business with you, I do business with them. I'm just ambivalent. I have no political leanings in this. I just see opportunities to make money, and I'm going to have those channels of revenue. But now, you're made of choice.
I'm very curious along those lines, because now you two have both said something along similar lines. So first, Mike, you said you can understand he donated to Mark Wade if it's approached in a certain way. Somebody for a bunch of years, they come up, hey, I need help. You don't really know what's going on. And then there it is. Okay. With what you just said, Poland, about stick to your guns, etc., EVS had earlier commented that until you're under attack by the swarm, you don't really know what it's like. And while I agree with you, I understand what he's saying is no matter how much I agree with you, once the swarm comes for me, it's you can cave to pressure because emotions take over. Fine. What I'm curious about is stuff like Gail Simone's one of his contractors. She's part of the Whisper Network. What was going on there with what essentially is somebody he does not need to kowtow to contractually? And did she participate in all in pushing him around or getting the mob to do so? I'm really curious.
Yeah. It's one of those things, Blue, that a lot of people saw this approaching, but you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? You want to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've seen how this goes. The apologies don't work. The only thing that apologies bring are more demands.
Yep.
I mean, just look at the wider society right now. As soon as you cave, they're like, okay, we have influence. Now, cancel all these other people. Cancel Christopher Priest.
Yep.
Normal.
I mean, that's going to be the next step. That's why you have to stand tall.
Yeah, who said that earlier? Was that Crackhead? Or was it Todd? It was Todd. He said, once you bend the knee, you never get up again. So now he's on his knees. And someone said, they, Sogi one said Dynamite shut out their own kneecaps. Exactly right.
Shout out to Sogi one. This is his first Bancroft stream. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for coming here.
Thanks for the compliments on the avatar.
Oh, and Smiling Bandito's grabbing ice. So we better get our comments in before he gets in.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let me get my thoughts out.
Once you're down on the ground like that, and you're prostrating yourself in front of them. They're not going to let you up to
No.
be reasonable again and just go back to business as normal. They're down for the count because they're going to hold them down and they're going to just tear them apart now. It's like a wounded animal.
No,
Exactly.
This is exactly how abusive relationships work. Is normal people understand there's a little bit of give and take, and you can apologize knowing that you're expected to grow and learn, and the person you're apologizing to understands it might take time for you to grow and learn. Abusive relationships are just like this. It's just one-on-one. Instead, this is the mob in public.
Yeah,
That was it.
that was the end of my statement.
Do I need to go like at the end of everything?
Yeah.
I shared. Hang on, let me share this. This was my tweet that people liked. I got 100 likes on this. Holy crap! I didn't get that many likes.
I'll go retract mine. Yeah.
Dynamite comics right now. So we got the SJWs in one leg and now Comicsgate in the other.
That's pretty funny.
Who's gonna buy
It's apt.
the books now? I mean, we say SJWs don't buy books. They don't buy a large number of books, but they obviously do. The people who are at least buy into the Comicsgate is a hate group mantra. There's a lot of them out there. We've found out over the last couple of days. There's a lot of them out there that are still, parroting that line.
And let's not forget, they came under a salvo when they did the first EVS cover. And EVS was praising them for standing strong. And he said, you see, Dynamite has shown you the formula. You don't bend the knee and eventually they give up and they go away. They get bored. But this time, something changed.
Did Cecil make enough money?
Like I said, that is likely the case now.
Because
that
what did
he didn't see
EVS make on the first one?
Yeah, I mean, it was tremendous. I think it was close to 50 or 60, was it not? Maybe more than that. And maybe Barucci didn't see the same opportunity for revenue here and just said, like I said at the beginning of the stream, the opportunity cost was not high enough for this. He's like, yep, I'm just going to bail on this one. Not worth it.
How do I pronounce this, Poland? How would you pronounce this? Is it a hard G or a soft G?
Soj?
Soj. I'm feeling I want to say the E. Soji. Anyway, I wonder what EVS thinks of all this. Well, he's been on stream now for hours, and I think basically he's done with Dynamite. He's not promoting them anymore. He's not going to be linked with them anymore. And yeah, and that's it. And they said he was meeting with Nick Barucci just the other day. They were hanging out socially, and he says that he said to him then, "You're going to cop some flack for this, but just ride out like you always have." And someone pointed out that maybe they thought Cecil was a easier target than Ethan, so that's why they're going so hard against him.
That's what.
Well, he's definitely not going to bring in as much money. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what.
So
the parallel to psychopaths going after your children, to circle around you. No offense to Cecil.
Yeah, and so just say the first Vampirella cover brought in 50, 60, 70,000, whatever it was, and then the next one brought in a bunch, and then the Anna cover brought in 50,000. They're serious numbers that they can, they don't care about. But I don't know if Cecil's cover was going to bring in that much. Probably more like 15 to 20,000, if that.
And this
Bandito
shows that
Hail,
are bigger than money.
Hail and
Bandito.
well
Hale, I preemptively meted up for you.
We're just going to wait for you to unload your wisdom and thoughts.
Bandito, do you see this? You see this? That's for
I
you.
do. You're a part of the
that's for you, buddy.
conversation, Poland.
Can I just say to Raptor Jesus here, this is a complete semantic thing that I'm about to say here. I get what you're saying here, but to me, mainstream is just whatever's popular. That's what mainstream means. Like when you're saying here, I get the feeling like you're saying with companies and corporations who right now comprise of the mainstream. But we can actually turn a grassroots movement into the mainstream if they become popular enough. This idea of partnering with companies, it does just seem like pointless limitations and restrictions. And now you get people that you don't necessarily want to get put in awkward situations with their fans, and people start getting refunds. I agree. Why do that now? You can go fully independent. We've seen it, that people are going fully independent and making serious cash. They don't need these corporations and the systems that they had in place with the distribution anymore. We just don't need it anymore. So yeah, I agree with your sentiment, even though if I might not perfectly agree with your semantics. Sorry, Bandito.
No, that's totally fine. Dynamite shit the bed, right? So pour out a drink for those guys, because they are I don't know how they're going to recover from this. Nobody likes them anymore. Everybody hates them. SJWs aren't going to be happy with them. It doesn't matter that they bent the knee. Comicsgate obviously is, and it doesn't matter what you identify in Comicsgate as, if you're War Campaign or the larger Comicsgate. Dynamite is dead. Genuinely.
Yeah, I don't see how they come back from this.
Yeah,
because there's been a lot of hatred spewed at Dynamite over the last 2 days, which is the reason why they've capitulated. Why do you capitulate to people who now hate you?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, good riddance. Dynamite was never in a position where they were actually going to support Comicsgate. Comicsgate was only a support for Dynamite, and without a fan base that, like, Comicsgate is the only growing fan base that's out there right now, right? Every other IP, doesn't matter what you think of the industry, if it's healthy or not healthy, all their numbers are going down. The movies aren't going to be making any money or as much money as they used to 10 years ago. All that shit's done. And Dynamite had a moment. They had this golden opportunity where they could have been ahead of the rest of the industries that are out there. If anybody was going to start making movies out of comic books again, it was going to be Dynamite. They were the only ones with different IPs that they could go from, with Green Hornet and
James Bond.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And so it's and maybe they will pull some magic out of their hat. Trans James Bond, of course, is going to be the big ticket item out there right now. But they didn't know what they had. They were still a part of. And when you say you think mainstream is just what's popular, I disagree with that, because back in the
that's it. You're gone. I'm kicking you.
I know. No dissent. No dissent allowed. Yeah. Back in the 90s, I mean, I was hungry for, anime and manga that was coming out, and we couldn't get a hold of it. It was hugely popular, but it was not the mainstream. And even though it could have been considered a niche market, there was so many people that were hungry for it. So popularity doesn't mean necessarily mainstream. And anime was huge with all its skate.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, for instance, right now it's a mainstream idea that there are 73 genders and you can just choose it whatever you want that day. But that is actually not a popular idea.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people actually believe that. That's the mainstream idea. Right. I get that. Good point.
And but the mainstream as well, that's actually even to the larger point. The mainstream is pushing their agenda, right? Like the difference about Comicsgate is that so first of all, I mean, I always have to add that caveat. I think that Comicsgate is the fans, not the creators. And when
agreed.
And when you the difference with Comicsgate is that you can't dictate to Comicsgate what they're supposed to think. And whereas the mainstream is continuously dictating to people that are like, oh, yeah, I should believe that. Yeah, you're right. This is how I should act. This is what I should be like. Comicsgate isn't that. And so that's the reason. That's the reason that Dynamite was never going to be able to work with Comicsgate. And, you know, when people say, like, Ethan, I'm not anti-Ethan, but one of the stupid things that he said today was he was talking about the bailout thing. And he was just like, oh, this should have been the red flag, but how could we have known? And it's just like, there's lots of people that knew. There's lots of people that saw this coming. But he was, I believe, he was persuaded by his own motivations that were not in line with the fan base. But there's lots of fans that were following along and were happy and excited for him. I don't think anybody wanted any ill will towards him. We'd rather not see something like this happen. But the reality is, I think the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, that, I mean, how could we have known? I mean, that is a pretty massive red flag. Right,
And
right
prior
there.
to that,
So
it was brought up that, well, and here's the other thing.
that he
The worst problem,
supported Mark Wade.
the worst problem that Ethan had is that he was already an apologist for Dynamite. And that is the worst thing you can ever do to somebody else, is make them an apologist for you. And when he had to apologize for Mark Wade, there was the bailout stuff that was coming up. And, you know, it was just, and there was their ties with Mark Wade and Gail Simone and other SJWs. And there was more SJWs that were coming in to produce books. Sarkeesian, I think, is doing a book for them right now.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Or maybe it was.
So it looks like we really dodged a bullet here. Getting
well,
any
we
further
did. Ethan didn't.
in deeper
Ethan
with
took it
this.
in the chest.
Well, look, it looks like Carl Ritter is still caught up in this.
Kyle Ritter and Art T. Bear. There's yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing.
Oh, yes, he's got his Vampirella cover. I forgot about that.
He's got his Vampirella cover, and he's doing Green Hornet.
Well, no. I'm sorry. You guys are doing two at once. Kyle Ritter has a Green Hornet cover. Okay, yeah, I'm caught up now.
Yeah, Kyle Ritter also has a Green Hornet cover. Art.T. Bear has a Green Hornet book. Like, he's going to be writing it, I think. He's doing the artwork in it.
They could still quit that, and T. Bear isn't here to speak for it, but...
No. Now, before you go too far with that,
yeah,
I don't think you have to cancel people just because they work with Dynamite.
Oh, no,
I wasn't looking to
No, I think anyone on here agrees with that. No one's canceling Art.T. Bear. That's my final word.
I don't think you have to cancel Ethan, even
if you heard what I said earlier about me dropping Vampirella, I'm actually going to pose some thought experiment questions in a few minutes. I was just giving you some time on why not to do that. But what I meant is Art may change his mind. I don't know if the contract is solid.
Right.
But he's not here to speak for himself.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, even if Art does, like, I love Green Hornet. If he decides to go with that book and he tells me that it's really well written, I mean, I'm going to have a hard time saying that I don't want to. I'm going to have a hard time saying that I don't want to back that book. You know, and it's one of those things where, as a community, it gets a lot more difficult to move forward without blood on your hands because of the connections that you have. And
that is, I think, exactly the point here that Raptor Jesus brings up as well. I think you must be talking about with Antarctic. We should have known better after what happened with your boy Zach. Surely that refers to Antarctic. It's like it's getting into bed with these corporations because, and the climate right now is, I mean, how many corporations, how many companies have not bent the knee and stood firm and weathered the storm over long term? I mean, it's not many. So yeah, all you eventually end up getting is now all these people just get put in really awkward situations, like Artie Bear and Billy Tucci and Kyle Ritter and Ethan. They're just in a really awkward position now where they have to kind of, I mean, I guess if you don't have anything coming up, you're fine. You just say, okay, nothing further now. But there's people who still are involved in active contracts.
Yeah.
And it's not that they want to straddle both sides of the fence. It's like they're trying to walk on one side, but now their leg is kind of caught on the barbed wire at the top or something.
Yeah, well, and the thing too, like you look at Billy Tucci, he's always kind of straddled the fence. He's always been pretty, I would say, comic skate adjacent as opposed to being comic skate.
Mhm.
But you never saw him bending the knee. I think that's the reason that people in comic skate can get behind him, is because they never saw him accommodating social justice warrior agenda stuff. And prior to this, Dynamite had a little bit of anonymity because nobody knew where they stood. And all Nick had to do was just not take a side. He just had to say, you know what, this is a book that we're producing. He didn't have to say anything. Even if he just said nothing, he would have just skated through this. So
I think that's all most people. That's why I was never too worried before the bailout project thing. I was never too worried about Dynamite. I know a lot of war campaigners were like calling it CG Dynamite, as if Dynamite was going to take over. That's how other feeling I got anyway. The Dynamite was going to take over CG, and CG was going to become just an arm of that company. The way I saw it was, no, Dynamite needs CG way more than CG needs Dynamite. We don't need them at all.
It was Comicsgate that was supporting Dynamite.
Exactly.
Dynamite wasn't a support for us.
I mean, I wasn't too worried about it because I just wasn't getting involved. I'm like, look, if you want to go and do Dynamite thing, that's your thing. It's not my thing at all. I'm not really supportive of it. I'm not going to buy any more books. But you go ahead and do you, because I thought, based on how that acted with Ethan, that they would, stand firm and just not get involved and not bend the knee to all of our, biggest enemies and detractors. But how wrong I was. Speaking of delusion, can I just guys show you a tweet? Do you guys know who Mindy Wheeler is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is she?
IDW. Okay, I don't want to mix her up with somebody else. Did she and her husband once run a comic shop? Stop me if you know I'm wrong. Once run a comic shop. Her husband got in the way. There were bad business dealings. They ruined their own reputation. People think it's mostly on her husband than on her, but she's still an artist and has some skill.
But she's not an SJW.
I just know her as an artist.
No.
Okay, if that whole story is a different Mindy, anybody in the chat, please bear that in mind.
She says she's a libertarian conservative.
Wasn't she the one that made the fan art of herself as
Vampirella?
No, it wasn't as Vampirella. She does have a Vampirella Dynamite cover coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But she's
an artist.
Yeah.
Look what she says here. Looks like Comicsgate trolls are at it again. This week's target, Nick, CEO of Dynamite. I call it CG cancel culture. Just when I was starting to think your CG has calmed down, CG is no different than the cancel culture of the mainstream, except maybe a little bit more neurotic.
This gets to the thought experiment I wanted to do. So I don't want to support Dynamite's bailout project, so I didn't buy their stuff. I was uninterested in getting most of the Vampirella guest covers, so I didn't get them except for Art to Bears. I pursued Art to Bears and said, "Yep, there's my money. I'll take it." I got the Virgin cover because it's most appropriate, and that's where I start to wonder if I just say, "Oh, Dynamite did bad, therefore I bail on all things Dynamite." Where am I the same as the cancel culture that we don't like? That's a question I don't hear people asking.
Well, plus as well, I mean, isn't this the SJWs pressuring Dynamite to cancel something?
Yeah.
Did I skip a beat here?
Yeah, the SJWs are pressuring Dynamite or whoever they can get their tweets on to cancel anyone or anything they can. But aren't we doing the same in response?
Hang on. Who are we canceling?
So cancel culture is different than speaking with your wallets.
Exactly.
So,
who are we getting torn down?
That's what.
I didn't-
That's why I'm asking. And I was thinking of Billy Tucci and the future contract with Art Thibert, and other people who are basically innocent bystanders in this, as far as Tucci or Thibert or Kyle Ritter. It's by us closing our wallets to Dynamite, are we no different than SJWs looking to cancel people, and then the casualties of that are people we know and love.
Yeah. So I've always
taking crazy pills here.
So I consider that's what I was talking about, like with Art Thibert. If he ends up doing a Green Hornet book and he says that the writing is really, really good, I'm going to seriously consider backing that because of my interactions with Art Thibert. The further you go down that hole of, because I don't like this, I'm not going to do this. Mm-hmm. I get it where, you look at Blizzard Entertainment. They are pretty much owned or told what to do. They're given their marching orders by China. And that has crossed a lot of players and fans. And so they're finding financially that it's the fans are speaking out against that. But do you then go to the fans who bought the game and say to them, don't buy the game? That's cancel culture. And when it comes to where we get our shirts and our shoes, and I mean, how far down that hole do we go before we're sitting in our living rooms without any furniture, naked, because we don't like where it comes from? I would still want to support Art Thibert, even if the only way he can get his dream project is to do it through Dynamite.
I don't know. I mean, I will support Art Thibert.
That's what I'm saying.
All the way. But I don't know if I'll be backing things that are connected to Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And
Art Thibert can do his own stuff, can't he?
Well, his dream project was Green Hornet.
Green
He
Hornet.
loves Green Hornet. And right now, Dynamite has it.
Yeah, so they're kind of dangling it over him. I would caution him against it. I would say, Art, don't do it. You know what? Make black and white, or draw in a couple characters that are, your Green Hornet, or take your best Green Hornet story and put it into a black and white issue. So something like that.
Yeah, did either of you in Poland, did either of the three of you catch Art Thibert's stream on I've Got a Big Announcement?
No.
Okay, I guess not. That's where he talked about this.
Okay. Gotcha. Talked about Green Hornet or talked about Dynamite?
Green Hornet.
Okay. No, I just know from...
Is Bandito done? I'm back.
He's still going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I'm not really a Green
stops.
Hornet fan or anything, but look, I got no problem. Obviously, I proudly backed Art Thibert's project twice, black and white. But
you
I didn't get
more often than that.
I know. I had to restrain myself. I had a whiskey last night with him. I had to restrain myself. Although, actually, no, I lie. I actually did back the project again for a third time, but I didn't buy the book. I just gave him a $2 contribution to get his numbers up.
Yeah.
So not, I mean, selective. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not starting to talk about canceling anyone. I'm just saying, me personally, I will not be supporting Dynamite, the company.
And there's the difference I'm hearing between what Bandito said and what I proposed is, Bandito said a lot of the same things, and then he added one extra. The extra he added was telling people to not do something, to not back something, is very different from what he originally was talking about and what I was talking about, which was choices I make.
Yeah.
When I say when we, as a whole bunch of individuals each say, you know what, I don't want to do Dynamite anything anymore, but I'm referring to the individuals speaking, not, hey, everybody in the crowd follow along with this trend. So there is a difference there. And I'm glancing over I forgot to look at the chat. I'm sorry, my chair's facing the wrong way. But yeah, there's a difference between this individual thing and telling other people don't buy it. In terms of canceling.
and also, I mean, Dynamite's a smaller company, so it just feels it feels more personal, but it's functionally not too much different to when I stopped buying Marvel or DC. I just had enough of that company's BS. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be buying any of these books anymore. There's enough CG books out. I'm not going to be, wanting. I'm not going to be lacking of having projects that I want to, books that I want to read. So I'm just not going to buy it. But I didn't then, when I did that, go out and just start unfollowing and attacking anyone who was connected, any kind of random inker or colorist that was connected to Marvel or DC. I just made a personal choice that I'm no longer going to be buying Marvel or DC. That's the way I see it.
Whereas I'm so fed up with DC, but yet I still really like Robert Venditti's writing, and sometimes I forget to look at who the artist is, but I'm still getting his Hawkman. So until the story goes sour, but once it does, I'm kind of done with DC. So.
Yeah, I've been done with DC and Marvel for a long time, and Dynamite never really interested me because they always kind of seemed off-brand, even when they got even when they licensed characters from larger companies, and they're willing to work with people that are genuinely B-level, like even compared to what the mainstream is offering. Dynamite is still second fiddle to what they have. Even when they bring in, like, Mark Waid doesn't sell his best scripts to Dynamite. He saves them for Marvel or Marvel, I guess. But nobody is selling their best work to Dynamite. It's just a paycheck for everybody that goes there.
Is anyone in here thinking that what we're talking about in terms of pulling our support for Dynamite, is that the same as what this guy is doing here by outing these Kenneth Rocafort, Shane Davis, Artsy Bear, and then going on a screed about how they're getting in bed with hateful bigots in a hate group and they need to be basically ousted from the community? Oh, and then Couch Doodles, yeah, he said, don't forget about him. Cancel him too.
Yeah, there's so many. So I don't know. What I don't want to do personally is run a campaign against Artie Bear, Ethan Van Sciver, any of these people who have worked just because they've worked with Dynamite. That's not in me. I don't have that emotional attachment to the work that they've done. If art, I don't know. Yeah. Who was it before? Someone said selective integrity.
That was Cygnus.
My integrity would be to my friends first. And so I guess not that Art and I are friends, but it would be towards wanting to see the best for the people that, I don't know, I just have that connection with. You want to support those good creators. And even if they end up going into darkness, you kind of want to be that, you want to still be attached to what you see them doing, if it's good work.
Just support Black and White 3 times.
I guess so. I just got to get drunk.
Right, Michael?
Well, once was a poster. Hold on, someone's trying to.
That poster is pretty sweet.
So in contrast to that, Bendito, if I pull my support for Vampirella, as I just looked it up and realized the current catalog is either the last issue of his run or the last issue of an arc. So it's like, so that means one more would have been the perfect time to quit, and it's not right now. Oh, all right. Frustrating. But if I pull my support for Vampirella, it's because I don't have a personal connection to Mr. Priest. It's just a book. Granted, I've liked a lot of his writing that, whatever I've seen, but actually, I've liked everything of his that I've seen, which isn't huge, but it's still enough. But I don't have that personal connection like I imagine I do to say Art Taber. And I have to say imagine,
Mhm.
even though he's been on our stream a bit, because maybe people here who aren't in the panel but are only in the chat feel a personal connection to Michael Bancroft,
Right.
for example. And so
I feel it too.
there's a close enough point where you feel that personal connection, and I know I don't have that with Priest.
Yeah. I guess too, there's also different ways to support someone who's doing one of their dream projects, right? So like with RT Bear, maybe there'll be pages that he owns that he's able to sell afterwards or something like that.
Mhm.
And then, you don't have to give up your integrity, as Cygnus was indicating. You don't have to give up your personal integrity just to be able to support a friend. Or someone that you appreciate their work. And there's going to be the problem right now that Comicsgate has found itself in multiple times is creators that have done great projects that end up being on opposite sides of the fence. And we all kind of got into this pool together. And the creators themselves aren't necessarily, peeing in the water. But there's so many people that were not really, I don't know, they got invited to the party, but they just didn't want to, play by the same rules.
Now, Wendy, I'm presumptuously thinking that I will like Mr. Taber's writing and covers on Green Hornet. So that is presumptuous. So or assuming. So this whole discussion is actually taken from that point of view that I'm going to enjoy Art's stuff.
Hey, here's something I found today. Here's Erica Schultz, writer, editor, instructor, blah, blah, blah. I've heard her name before. I see a lot of these people, they use CG. They do this.
Mm-hmm.
C*G. And look what happens when you put that into search. It gets rid of the asterisks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just everyone talking CG, which is CG is just the kind of the shorthand way that we write it. But you don't find any of their tweets. It's like it's their secret way of writing it without having any of us find out about it.
Yeah, they know this.
Yeah. It's not in there at all.
Because
look at these sneaky buggers.
Yeah, an asterisk says is a wild card, and so the wild card can be null.
There you go. Look at that. They've got to do their little. They're hiding in plain sight, just like the evil people in the Lucid. Wendy says, "Buy Vampirella book if you want."
Oh,
She's saying, I think you should back what you like now instead of to support someone. I get that. It's just that with so many books to back, often I find myself struggling to choose exactly what I'm going to back. And sometimes that deciding factor is whether or not I've found out that I really like that person. I mean, I think that's just human nature. I didn't set out to do it that way. It just came about that way. It just happened to be like that. But if something is really amazing and I can't miss it up, I don't have to get to know the person. It's not like I'm supporting it.
Getting to a lot of the vote with your wallet that Raptor Jesus has been saying, which is correct. We're just discussing the methods for choosing in terms of voting with your wallet. And what are the different factors that come into voting with my wallet? Normally, it's if I like it, I buy it. But then there are these stupid other factors like, hey, this company that makes the books I want is giving money to causes that I think are absolutely evil. Well, if that money comes from one particular sale that I'm not involved in, you can kind of say, who cares? But if that money comes from their general fund that I am contributing to, then I might think about saying, you know what, I don't want to contribute to that anymore. And that, again, that's voting with my wallet, not cancel culture necessarily. So we're just I don't know, dicing through a lot of that distinctions.
Mm-hmm.
Blue,
I'm not saying. What was that, Poland?
Yes, dude.
I was going to say, Blue's seen my beard.
Mhm.
I have a lot of beard to cut. But after Gillette pulled their shenanigans last year, I switched to a safety razor and old school shaving cream. I don't
Mhm.
care. No more Gillette. That was a line for me. So you gotta figure out where your line is.
Yeah. Same
So
here.
I
by the way.
completely changed the way I shave.
Did
I
you
went
go
from-
Dollar Shave Club?
No, I have a old school single blade safety razor.
The one which got it's the metal thing, and then you buy the individual old school razor blades, yeah, and you screw them in or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I learned an
Yeah.
entirely new way of shaving, just to get away from that stuff.
I got a lighter and I now burn off my whiskers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that's not we don't consider that cancel culture, do we? That's just like everyone's saying,
Vote with
Buy
your
with
wallet.
voting with your wallet. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's capitalism.
Exactly.
So while everyone is anti-Dynamite right now, the question is, do I really want to fully go that direction? Like, okay, I'll
Well, I
jump
was
in.
already out. I mean, this didn't change anything for me. I was already out. I mean, I don't know if I articulated on a stream. I may have when I was drunk. I don't remember. But I was already out. So this is just, this kind of shown that, okay, well, they're not going to stand up for a creator that they launched a project with in when the the real hateful bigots come after them, which are these people, Mark Russell type people,
Mhm.
who will call thousands of
he's the real
normal
threat.
people, thousands of normal comic book fans and creators, Nazis and bigots and all that sort of stuff, and smear all these people and use all kinds of underhanded tactics. And yeah, any company that's going to just bow down to, it wasn't even much, was it? I mean, this all started a couple of days ago, and it's just Twitter. I mean,
by the way,
turn it off.
Before I confuse anyone, I'm throwing stuff out there because this is all just food for thought. I'm not like in angst over what I'm going to do with Vampirella here, but this is also this is all food for thought. I don't need anyone telling me what to buy or what should be canceled. Think for yourself and back what you would like. Yes, okay. This is all kind of old hat for me because of church. In church, there were people freaking out over if they support non-Christian. If you can't tell, this is a stupid thing. If they support non-Christian businesses, aren't they helping perpetuate sin in the world? And finally, one person answered them with like, "You're a sinner and you eat. Okay, if you feed yourself, you're perpetuating sin in the world." Some people actually like could not handle that mentally. I used to go to church with some real mental midgets, but this is the same issue. It's just changed the labels to something else. What do I do where? And this is a rhetorical question. Hey, Art has a book. I think the book looks great because he wrote it. Everything I've heard about it is great. Happens to be published by Dynamite, and my money is not going to go to that cause that I don't want it to donate to. It just happens to be Dynamite. These things happen all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like with your shirt and your shoes and your music and your furniture. I mean, like it is. I've worked in some of these places that, I mean, the conditions are, you would think only happen in China. And then you actually go to China and you find out it's 10 times worse. And the idea of we're living a bloodless life just is erroneous for us to be carrying that. But when we can make choices that we feel are morally better, I mean, it's good. We just got to make sure we're not pushing those morals onto other people. And I think as long as you do that, you're staying away from cancel culture. If you do end up making purchases that you feel you can justify, I mean, I don't know, you shouldn't have the mob coming against you for it. So if people do still want to back Dynamite, I'm not going to be the person that screams at them for it. And if people tell me that I shouldn't be backing something from Dynamite, that's a conversation, but it's not something that they get to be the moral authority over me for. So Yeah, I don't know. I just think we're Comicsgate is in a good spot. We have lots of great people around that moving forward, we're going to be able to distance ourselves from what the mainstream is doing. Ethan got caught up in it. I can't remember how long ago it was, but I put out a video saying that was about Dynamite, and everyone's talking about it. The biggest problem is always, okay, everyone was upset with War Campaign for what they were saying about Dynamite. But my thing was, well, what happens when Dynamite does screw it up? Like, they're a big company. They're going to make mistakes eventually.
We were just having this conversation the other day, weren't we, Bandito?
I think so.
I feel like we were talking about this. It was brief, but we were talking about this a couple of days ago, and we said we didn't think that the bail thing was going to be a massive issue for exactly what Blue was talking about. That it was a separate single thing.
Yeah,
that you didn't have to put any money towards. I mean, it's disappointing for for a lot of people, but it's not like if you are backing another different Dynamite project, then you're giving money directly to that project. So we thought, my problem with this, but then I remember, I think it was you who said, but what happens when, something else comes along? And well, it came along a lot quicker than than we suspected.
Yeah, and now, like, I saw a lot of people commenting on Ethan's chat, and I had dropped a couple comments just saying, Ethan's only just catching up now to War Campaign. But
that stings.
Yeah, well, this isn't the first time. I mean, when Ethan said that he wasn't going to back any projects unless they had fulfilled, or he wasn't going to promote any projects unless they had fulfilled. That was from, he'd been motivated by a tweet that I don't know if it was Ro, but somebody in War Campaign had put out, it might have been Pan, had put out saying that they were going to do the same thing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, thanks for catching up, Ethan. I mean, it's one of those things where I think because of the position that Ethan is in, he is actually a little bit on the outside of what everyone else, not everyone else, I shouldn't say it that way. Whereas where a lot of people are already seeing what's coming down the road.
And we have some, sorry to break you off, we have some War Campaigners here. Is this the beginning of a
amend? No.
Between those two camps? No.
I think some pretty hurtful things have been said back and forth. And I believe that the hurt feelings are more justified now than they were previously. So, I think eventually everyone has to kind of come around to the idea that they have to come around to the idea that War Campaign wasn't trying to destroy Comicsgate when they were talking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is probably the acknowledgement that people need to allow to be true.
I'm paying a lot of attention. War Campaign. Sorry. Crud. I just lost the last thing you said. I'm sorry.
He was saying, you can say it better.
I can say it better?
Just repeat the last sentence.
Oh, I was just saying that I think what people will have to accept is that War Campaign was not trying to destroy Comicsgate when they were pointing this stuff out.
Okay, cool. War Campaign was not trying to destroy Comicsgate when they were pointing this out. Good.
Yeah.
Before I didn't want that to completely be erased when I jumped over to. I've been trying to keep track of Wendy B's comments. At one point, she says exactly Mo Biggs, and then I can't find what Mo Biggs said that she's responding to. So it's like way up there. Okay, well, yeah, I found it. But she's had some good things to say, and just hey Wendy, I appreciate you in the chat.
Yes, I was just about to say that same thing. We've had a fantastic chat today. I mean, obviously, this is a little bit different to what we normally do with the promo streams, but this is kind of too big to ignore, wasn't it? So thank you to everyone in the chat, people like Wendy, Raptor Jesus,
Soj, first
Antoine, as
timer.
always, Mo Biggs, Sogi,
Did we confirm on that?
Red Syrup. I think we may have, and we just missed it. But
Sydney.
everyone in there who's been taking part in this conversation, crackhead as well. I mean, you could go on and listen to the actual people who are involved in this talk on Ethan's show, but you probably won't be able to get much interaction from the chat. So I thought that's the benefit of having a smaller show that we can do, and we get to hear the amazing opinions of Poland Blue and Bandito.
Oh, thank you.
Give too much credit. Well, you give me too much credit.
Skip, no, definitely not. Skip Edwards is right. Best chat in CG, absolutely.
Sexiest chat.
But I'm getting calls from work, so I do have to go. I took a late lunch today. I got up early, started work early, so I could take a late lunch today. So I do got to get back to it. So this has been a really good discussion. We need to do some more things like this sometimes. I didn't get into the infighting discussions. It's not really my thing, but sort of just more general, industry stuff like this, events is it's interesting. It's interesting, and I'm glad to see that people turned out for it.
I just remembered.
There we go.
One option for anyone out there that's percolating through my head is, rather than throw Dynamite out the window completely, I may just not be interested in Dynamite in general, thus reducing myself only to very singular specifics. That's one thing that didn't come up before. So, food for thought.
In the market this still, I don't think they could afford to make the mistake that they did.
Neither do I. This is this market is not the time. This is not the time or the place or the industry to be burning multiple bridges at once. Definitely not. All right, guys, we do have to end it.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow. Probably have just another promo. Not just another. We're going to have a great promo stream tomorrow. With some amazing creators, and we'll really look forward to it. So, thanks again, chat. Thanks again, guys.
I'll have a show about this tomorrow.
Oh, cool. There you go.
So
definitely make sure you sub to Bandito's channel. It's Smiling Bandito. That's the name.
Yeah, that's just it. If you search it, you should get it.
Oh, and Blue is starting to stream. Everyone go subscribe to Blue too. He does good little streams, and he has no one there to watch him. And it's
practice.
No, he's a lot better than he thinks he is.
Oh,
and I for now am a Bancroft exclusive. I have a contract.
Yes, that's right.
Grooming you.
So if you want to find me, you gotta come here.
There you go.
That's it. Okay, guys.
When you decide to show up.
See you next time.
Good afternoon.
Bye.
Hail and Wilmette. Hail War Campaign.